Hello everyone, welcome to the JW the DM channel. I, of course, am JW the DM, and today is part 2 of the now 3-part series, not 4 parts, on building player engagement through the PC's backstories. Last week, part 1 was all about building those backstories in the first place, and you can find that video here, and also linked in the description below. This week, we're going to put that information into the game and really highlight our characters. We're going to look for ways to spotlight each character with bits and pieces from their past and present, and remember to do this for all the characters so no one at your table feels left out. The first thing you can do is develop hints and clues, or secrets and clues, as Mike Shea likes to put it, that when revealed or solved can take past events and turn them into future encounters and maybe even entire adventures and campaigns. So, hints and clues. Even when a session or several sessions isn't about a particular character, you can almost always come up with something to sprinkle in just for that character. Examples: strange markings that only that character can read. Seeing something out of the corner of their eye, darting around another corner. Maybe it's someone they know. Getting a strange letter. My favorite, NPCs telling them odd things in the thick of battle that sounds like the PC should know what they're talking about, but they don't. Then you can make these secrets and clues the focus of encounters. Obviously, we've got our 3 main types of encounters: roleplay/social, combat, and exploration. We can plop a character's backstories and skills into all 3 of these very easily. Number 1, social. One of my characters was being followed by the mysterious stranger, or TMS as I like to call him. Eventually, they met and talked. Turned out the PC was next in line to be a champion of his god, and the former representative of his god was his own father. Then, in another example, a couple of PCs were leading the party in taking down Xanathar. The party caught one of the lower level lieutenants, and these 2 people performed the interrogation. One even inquired about her lover that had been murdered by a Xanathar agent. And a more broad one PC loves to play music and tell stories at taverns, often trading stories if the NPC stories that are being traded might have information in them. So as you can see, social encounters are a great place for secrets and clues to be discovered. So build on those backstories. Number 2, combat. Pretty much everybody had a moment or 3 when they finally battled Xanathar. Now this combat held a combination of previous story and backstory and letting each PC shine with their skills. You had the PC whose lover had been killed. You had the Harper striving to uphold his duty and honor. Now, not everyone had a backstory involving Xanathar, but that's okay. This is just an example of backstories dovetailing nicely with the event in hand. And you can imagine those other characters did have backstories that did somehow get them attached to the adventure. Another PC kept being the target of kidnapping attempts without even knowing why. At first, the main NPC leading these attempts kept trying to get the PC to give up and come along nicely. Lots of combat and intimately tied to the PC's backstory, although the player isn't yet 100% sure how. But during combat, remember my favorite example of this kind of thing, this NPC would also start dropping hints about the character's relevance. Secrets and clues. So that's an example of spotlight through both social and combat at the same time. Obviously, giving PCs the spotlight in combat isn't always about backstories. I'll get back to backstories in a bit, but I need to touch on spotlights in combat in general. It's very simple. From time to time, as much as you can, try and create scenarios where, assuming combat happens, which it won't always happen, there are circumstances where a particular PC can show off what they do best. Now, remember, be sure that everybody gets to show off a little across multiple combats. Spread the love. For bigger combats, like with BBEGs, set up battles where everyone gets the spotlight at different times. I did that for the Xanathar battle, and it was the best battle I've run. That's probably why it sticks with me. Number 3, exploration. Remember secrets and clues? Strange things found inscribed on a wall, that oddly familiar structure, the note left on the desk. And of course, exploration includes traps and puzzles. Can a trap or puzzle emphasize one or all of the players in order to solve? Can one or two have solutions related to a character's backstory? And of course, this all applies to skill challenges. Have a few, where every character has a likely skill check that they can roll for using their highest proficiency. Try to get the whole party involved with various checks for one problem, and have potential backup solutions available in case one or more checks are failed. Bonus points, though, if the solutions have something to do with a character's prior career or training. Remember to create scenarios for skill checks for individual characters too, and especially again, if it can involve their backstory, then bonus points. It shouldn't just all be the rogue picking locks and deactivating traps. Now, there isn't just positive spotlighting. Conversely, you can also spotlight a character negatively in encounters. Create challenges that a particular PC normally could accomplish, but some obstacle or person is keeping that from working. Now, don't do this too often, as it creates feel-bad moments, and you don't want too many of those. However, use judiciously, and using some backstory to rationalize the failure, it's a great way to add some depth to the character. Encourage creativity on the part of the players to figure a challenge out, and let me tell you, it's a great way to make a PC hate an NPC so bad it makes a nemesis out of them. Backstories aren't just to make encounters richer. You can use backstories to create quests and side quests. Side quests are a fantastic place to spotlight a PC or 3 using dynamic bits of backstory. I'll just give you an example. That PC who became a champion of their deity? Well, they were told to retrieve a fancy sword that was en route to the next place the party as a whole needed to go. Because of the plot and some deity-specific challenges, it spotlighted that character. But because there were still chances to shine for all the other characters as well as supporting their teammate, everyone had a good time. Now, you can do this at a much more macro level and make entire story arcs revolve around 1 or 2 characters' backstories. Now, there are dangers involved with this, but also strategies for succeeding with it, and we'll get to that. In my current main campaign, one of the characters was booted from a Winter Fey realm and mysteriously showed up in the current realm on the material plane with crazy skin that looks like the Aurora Borealis. The main bad guys, who are intruding from the same plane she is from, keep trying to kidnap her. Now, that's only one aspect of this story arc, but it was the founding circumstance of the story. And it all came from the player's decision that her skin was like the Aurora. Now, not even she knew why it did that. She just thought it was cool. And now, it's a major driver of the storyline. Now you're probably asking yourself, but what if that character dies? Never fear. First, if the quest hasn't started yet, the one that was going to be based off of that character's backstory and the character's dead, who says the quest needs to actually still happen? You can also make it that one of the other PCs was the actual person being blackmailed or prophesied about or what have you. Have backup plans. Get the party so involved as to be committed to the quest no matter what. Use their backstories or add to their backstories to be intertwined with the main story. Create story-driven moments for each PC to keep them engaged with the plot. And be ready with some well-thought-out justifications for why the story can go on. I've got a doozy of one for my main campaign. If you're one of my players in that campaign, skip the next 20 seconds. All right, assuming they're not listening, you know that character with the skin? That's what the bad guys are after. They thought they needed the person with that skin alive. Turns out they now know that alive is optional. Still, make sure everyone has a motivation to aid their fellow characters in whatever quest. Work this out with the players. Sprinkle in encounters and clues and mysteries that are specific to the PCs that aren't the center of these things. Check in with your other players from time to time. Make sure that they're still happy with the direction of things. Some may need some more spotlight to balance things out, but others may be happy to just go along for the ride. And then there's downtime. I admit I don't have much downtime in my games, but it seems to me to be a great place to bring in backstory. Does the character do a hobby from the questionnaire? Do they do some of their day job work? Do they meet up with their mentor for some training? Does the player want to RP a little personal detective work, following up on a hint they got about something in their past? Ooh, and hey, look, a friend came to town, and they've got the party's next quest. Generally, roleplay as much as the players are willing to do for these activities, and of course, as long as the other players don't mind. That's it. Find space in those areas where you can spotlight a character and then look for opportunities to tie the character's backstory into them to really build that player engagement. Use hints and clues, stick them in encounters, make them relevant to the story or stories being created, and fill them out during any downtime. Anyway, if you like this video, please remember to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember to be here next week for the final video in this 3-part series, checking in and making Backstory future story. Till then, may all your games be full of glory. Take care.